Hey, everybody, welcome back to We Are Not Dead Yet, and we aren't.
Still
Episode
here.
4. I'm your host, Curt Schilling, co host Brian Youse. What's up, B?
Not much. Just got back from dinner, celebrating with the daughter and the son-in-law. A little bit of Japanese,
Night. Hibachi.
always
Yeah,
fun.
I am sitting at my house, and after this episode, I'm going to go to the dinner table with my 3 of my 4 kids and my 2 new grandkids and just wallow in it. But
Russell
I
Great.
want to get to real quick. We have a guest this week, guys. Another guest, and I'm gonna pontificate on the greatness of this guy. First of all, he's probably a better human being than he is an ASL player, which is saying something. Because I think right now, if you if you had to go with the top 10 players in the world, he'd be in that. I'd be comfortable saying when he's on his game, he's in the top 5. And he's a tremendous human being. I had the privilege of knowing him for a long time, and he was in the ASL World Championship. Brian, how long have you known JR?
Oh, I don't even know. 25 years, probably.
Yeah, yeah, same.
Forever.
But I'm going to bring in one JR Tracy. What's going on, big boy?
Hi, good to see you guys. And Brian, I think it's been maybe even 30 years. It's not
It's
far off that,
a
that's for
long, long
sure.
time. I'm trying to remember the first Winter Offensive you attended.
First one, whenever that was. So,
Were you at the first one when it was in Glen Burnie at the worst
yes,
Holiday Inn ever?
yes, I have been.
28 wonky
That's
ASL
where I
gamers
think I
showing
met
up?
you, JR.
I believe so.
Yep.
I believe so.
That was a
So
long, long time ago.
we're a little bound by time, but I want to talk about we're going to talk about scenario 4, round 4 of the tournament with Iron Will. But
Right.
first, JR, there's a couple things I want to drop on your plate, and I want to hear your thoughts on. One of the things that as a baseball player that I did was I was always about finding out people and other things that were great. Why were they good? What made them tick? And I'm curious from your perspective, and obviously you're a humble guy, so this is going to be hard for you, but I want to know if you had to pick one thing that you think makes you better than most ASL players, whether that be rules knowledge or your ability to use whatever. If you had to pick one thing that makes you a better ASL player, what would that be?
I don't let the luck affect my attitude. I mean, to me, cars are part of the game. Snake eyes are part of the game. If I'm on the right or wrong side of either one, it's just move on.
Right.
It's just like you
Not a
fire a
small thing.
flamethrower, you that flamethrower clicks the first time you pull the trigger, it's just like, "All right, well, let's
Right.
move on."
I've
And
never
so
seen
I don't
JR
let
flip a
that.
table.
No. Well, and that's not a small thing too, Jared, because there's people talk about a PMC, personal morale check. There are scenarios you can play where the VC dictate that, listen, I only need one half squad at the end of this game to win. And as their force dissipates, you see the head start to sink and the attitudes start to change. And I don't think that's a small thing. But on top of that, I want to ask you another question. I want to ask you if you could walk our viewers through kind of your mental process of a game turn. And you don't have to go phase by phase, but what are some of the key things you learned early on? Number one, but number two, kind of your fundamentals as to how you play the game from a process perspective.
Well, I'll give a shout out to, I think, who's the 2 greatest players currently, or at least the 2 greatest players I've encountered, Mike McGrath and Steve Pleva. Steve has a saying, which is a plan for every piece and a piece for every plan. So when you're looking at the board, if at the end of your movement phase, you discover there's a piece, oh, what do I do with this guy? If you haven't lost, you're on a path to losing. You need to have some idea of what you're going to do with everything in your order of battle, because a good designer is going to make sure that that order battle is pared down to exactly what you need. And if you don't have an application for some asset, then you're failing. And so that's something I try to keep in mind. I try to make sure each turn I know what I'm doing with everything I have, because goodness knows I probably don't have any slack in that order of battle if it's a good scenario design, and also if I'm playing a competitive player. If I'm playing anybody, you just want to make sure that you do have that plan. And again, by the same token, you and myself, I try to assess what do I need to do over the course of a game, over the course of a portion of the game, and over the portion of a turn, and over the course of a portion of the turn. So that incrementalism builds up, and that's a piece for every plan. So you need to know what you need to do, and you have to allocate your assets accordingly. And so that kind of organized thought has to kind of apply over the course of the game and also within a turn.
And I think what goes unsaid in that entire dissertation is rules knowledge. I don't care what your plan is if you don't understand. And the example I always bring up, and I play Brian so much that I see it all the time from Brian being, unfortunately, publicly admitting he's an exceptional player is hard for me.
So
One of the things I notice, and I noticed it with you because I watched you play in JR and I watched Pleb and McGrath, moving something as simple as moving a vehicle. There's never a pause in the sense that, other than the 8.2 pause, when you're moving something, you've already know where it's going to be and how much it's going to spend in those things. And as it relates to rules, what is your, if you had to give advice to a newer player or a player of lesser caliber? Mike McGrath says he reads the rules once every year, right? He goes through the rules once every year. Do you have any axioms or anything like that you
Related to rules knowledge, not so much. I will freely admit I'm not the strongest rules guy. I think I have a stronger knowledge than most. I'm more of an application of the rules guy. I know when certain things are relevant. One of the things I enjoy about the game is that if you can conceive of it, ASL allows it in some form. And so I need to be able to understand how ASL permits me to apply my tactical understanding of the situation. And I will reread sections of the rules. One of the reasons I enjoy proofreading with Klaus and Perry is that they're both so good that I understand a great deal just by listening to their back and forth. You know, when someone says, "Oh, well, I'll say, well, why do we even need this subclause, this exception?" And then Klaus will say, "What about this situation? What about this situation? What about
Right.
this situation?" And like all of a sudden, it's like, oh my goodness, there's so much here I hadn't considered.
Well, I would on that point, I would make a case that ASL has a butterfly effect so far beyond any other board game that I've ever played, right? It's the McGrath wants to, hey, dude, get rid of human wave. It's broke. Well, okay, I understand what you're saying, but it's not you can't just cut the text out, because the Venn diagram of the ASL rulebook, I don't know if you've ever seen one of those things where they take the Bible and they cross-reference the hundreds of thousands. ASL is very much that game, which gets back to what I was asking earlier. The one thing I've noticed, and it's with although Brian has a different way of pontificating about, when he says I'm 99% sure, it means he's 100% wrong about the current rule. And we're playing so much that we're forgetting, like, hey, how many movement factors does a single man counter have? But
pretty sure it's 8.
But when you, yeah,
recently saw a guy put an artillery piece in a building that clearly didn't belong
right.
there. And that
yeah,
guy was
but
like, by reputation, a good player. So
right.
it startled me. It stunned me. And what even stunned me more is that it was me. But these things happen.
So when
And
that
was
happened,
the scenario we
JR,
were doing last week. Go ahead. B.
JR, when that happened, when you revealed your gun and were obviously ready to take a shot, and I guess Ron was like, hey, you know, that gun can't be there. Curt has gushed over the fact that you just took that piece, set it aside, and kept playing.
Well, that gets back to what you said earlier, JR.
Crushed?
I
Yep.
screwed up. And I got to say, in the next game, I played Guy Cheney, and Guy said, well, you know, why didn't you just ask Ron? You know, if I'd been your opponent, you could have I would just move it over here. It's the breaks of the game. That's the way I play it. I'm not going to ask that of someone else. I might grant that if someone asked it of me, and I've done so in the past. But well, I screwed up. Let's pull that piece. Let's keep going. And that's you know, I learned.
Yeah.
Believe me, I learned quite a bit from that. And every once in a while, you need to
but that gets back
get
to
your
the
nose
whole
broken.
even keel thing, JR. That gets back to the whole. You took I was there, watched it, and I knew. I had watched you. You were on video setting up, and I knew when you said it. I'm like, I can't say anything. I can't say anything.
On the live feed,
I had it in the next hex over, and then moved it. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
In the live feed, he was just, you know, what happens when JR reveals that gun? But I can't go tell him. I don't know what to do. It's like,
And I appreciate that.
You can't give it.
I appreciate that. I will say just an old story, but I was with Perry, or I was playing a fellow, and Perry was watching the game, and there was a mistake made that me and my opponent both made, and it essentially cost me the game. And afterwards, Perry said, I was biting my tongue, and I'm glad you did bite your tongue because we screwed up. That helps me. That helps me remember. That helps me
And
remember.
it's true. You won't forget it ever again.
Yeah.
Let's
Right?
take
Well,
Go ahead, B.
let's take 15 seconds to get to know JR real quick. What's your favorite scenario?
I gotta say, Acts of Defiance.
Acts of Defiance, nice, classic.
Yeah.
Worst scenario you've ever played? It's okay if it's one of mine.
Definitely gonna be.
I'm gonna say Hamlet's Demise just because Curt designed it.
That's bullshit. Okay, that's
Demise.
bullshit.
I only said that just to get under your skin, but the truth is, there is no worst scenario I've ever played.
Right.
I like them all.
Yeah.
If I'm playing SL, I'm having a good day.
Awesome. I think people like to know what people's best scenario or favorite scenario is. We don't ask people that enough.
Hey, let me ask you this. What's your favorite ASL rule? I'll say mine is Shock UK.
That's up there. I mean, Shock UK is so much fun because I love anything that takes the big issue with ASL from a realism perspective is your omniscience. Anything that reduces omniscience, reduces control. So, I mean, I'd put Shock UK up there. I'd put the sniper rule up there. I like Heat of Battle. If you hear me bitch about Heat of Battle, it's that Heat of Battle should always be a good thing and it's occasionally a bad thing, but that's mostly me whining and crying about something. But the truth is, I think it's what makes the game what it is, to have that element of control like jerk from your hands and forces you to adapt to this new situation. Well, Snake Eyes, fantastic. Oh my God, just surrendered. What the? So, I mean, I like.
Yep. Hey, let's jump into it since I know we're in a little bit of a time window. We're going to talk about With Iron Will, which was round 4 of the ASL World Championship.
Yep.
For those of you following along, Garrick posted the scenario card. You'll see it. Nancy to GG, X-Rose in play. And then you'll see hexes Y2, U4, Q6, Q8, Q9 were the BC hexes. The Germans cannot have a good order non-crew MMC in a building hex adjacent to any of those 5 hexes. Brian, first off, we had this grew. This was a 2-mapper, 2 full maps, very different feel to it. And I think the 6th or 7th time we played it, we finally decided, the southernmost victory hex was unattainable, all this other stuff. So it ended up being a half mapper. It's dense. And it's got a lot of fun stuff. You got big guns with the Russians with the A122s and the T-34s, the Germans with 0 tanks, but a monstrous amount of anti-tank capability in a Stuka with the 37L, which tended to be a lot of fun when I played the Germans because Brian would bitch and whine because he would lose tanks every time. But you've got April 45.
I was bitching because how many 37 millimeter anti-tank gun armed Stukas were flying 8 days before the end of the war?
Right. He
Where
brought
did the
out
Germans
his
get the
J.J.
gasoline?
Podolowicz. Yeah. He turned into Matt Noah.
Right?
He turned into Matt Noah, which
my
was
God.
Dude, it's
No one wants that.
April 18th, 1945. I don't think there's and then he goes to Wikipedia of all places and finds that, oh yes, there were Stukas flying
Turns out
around
there
at this
was
point.
one, I guess.
But we got April 45, so you got 3X Panzerfaust. You've got tank hunting teams, Panzer Commandos, who come on turn 1, couple 8 morale with Panzer Shreks and an 8-1. But the anti-tank capabilities, the one problem that we had that we kind of came up with, which is a neat little mechanic, I thought, was everything's paved. And so the guns, there's very few places for the guns to be emplaced. I messed around with putting a hip gun behind the roadblock, which pops up concealed when you see it, but we added the debris, so each player places a debris counter until 4 are placed, which becomes, as you get to the nuts and bolts in the end of the scenario, they became huge things. But talk to me about you played Guy Cheney in this,
right? And Guy is, most people who, if you know the name, he's a great player. So I knew I had my work cut out for me. I can't remember who picked whom. I actually wanted the Germans, I think. And so I might have picked the Germans, he might have picked the Soviets, and then we just proceeded.
and
As you say, the roads
to Guy is probably one of the better armor players I've ever seen. Guy and Neil Stanhagen both are 2 guys that can play armor as well as anybody I've ever played.
Right.
A real quick interrupt. I just want to point out that I own both Guy and JR. Lifetime undefeated. That's all I have to say.
Well, yeah, I mean, same with me and McGrath.
And
I mean,
Neil actually is the reason I don't play competitive ASL anymore.
right. Neil made him quit.
He broke your spirit.
Yeah, Neil, he failed his he did what you said. He went off the deep end, failed his roll at 12 in his personal morale check, and quit competitive ASL forever.
I haven't played in a tournament since. Playing
That's
in
funny.
front of the storm of all things. Horrible little Curt Schilling
A
vibe.
tremendously well-designed.
Another terrible scenario. I forgot that one. Add that to my list.
Tremendous. Highly recommended. So anyway, yeah. So you're playing Guy, and curious about your thoughts on the scenario.
Well, as you say, there's not a lot of the biggest. The Germans have a couple big assets. I'm looking at the card here, so I'm looking off screen. You get an 8L, not 88 double L. An extra L would have helped, but the turns out one L was enough. And a 30L flak piece. But the debris is the key to the scenario. The Stuka is good, but because the sighting task checks and the density of terrain and the amount of cover, anything the Stuka gave me was going to be gravy. I was not counting on the Stuka to do anything.
Really?
Yeah, and in fact,
I went in there thinking
it didn't do a lot.
Too.
And Brian and I talked about this. I was counting on the Stuka to be a 2 or 3 kill piece.
Absolutely. I think it's got to lose probably 3 of the T-34s because they die on a 9 or or 9 or less, I think. And the sighting task checks are fairly easy too.
Well, that's
sighting
the thing,
tasks
right?
are easy, but
right. That's the thing is that I'm guessing that the Russian player putting those things in the orchard hexes or in other places keeps that sighting. It affects the sighting task check.
Putting them in the orchard hexes, you're going to be within 4 hexes of the Germans almost immediately. And also that TK is no guarantee. I bounced the hits I got. I bounced.
Really?
So, yeah, I bounced all the hits I got. It's like a 9
to kill. It's like a 9 on 8 or a 9 on each one, and it's always they're always moving. So that's a -2. They've entered a new. I mean, the modifiers end up that in most cases you're needing to roll 11 or 12 to miss the sighting task check.
Here we are. But also the compound probability is like 10, 11, 12 maybe to fail the task check. You might miss the hit and you might miss the TK.
Right.
You put all that together and you're well under 50%, I think, on a probability of a kill.
Well, I think,
and apparently in my case, you're around 0%.
You're a math guy, and I'm not a math guy. I think it's like 100%. I was pissed when I wasn't killing 4 tanks every game. Our Norwegian superstar playtesters, Bo and Michael
Hastrup.
They're Danish.
Back with the math, and apparently
they're probably rowing across the Western Sea now to find you after calling them Norwegians.
Oh my gosh, that could. Okay, they're not finished.
Garrick,
you should be hearing Immigrant Song in your head right now because that's Bo and Michael. Where is that moment?
I still owe Bo a T-shirt. He's not doing anything until he gets it, I'm sure, because he wants that shirt. They came back with the math, and it was 50%. I mean, it's 50-50 that you're going to kill something every turn.
Okay.
So it felt like to me it should be much higher. Because every time I played, I was losing tanks to every time Curt would roll the damn dice. Annoying. So I was banking on that. But I almost don't care about those tanks because I'm going to lose them to Panzerfausts, and he's got 20 frickin' squads that can shoot 3-hex Panzerfausts on half a map. It's brutal.
Right.
I mean, there's rocket glare here. It's all over the place.
And that's exactly right, Brian. Yeah.
Don't the 238 reinforcement squads get a DRM for their Panzerfaust and ATMM checks too? Right.
Correct.
Right.
ATMM, they're not going to get in close combat with the tanks. Why would they?
Well, anytime, as you say, Brian, by the time the tanks get to where they need to be to get something going, they're going to be getting hit by all kinds of stuff. Whether it's the Stukas, whether it's the Panzerfaust, whether it's the Panzerschrecks, and it could be close combat. I don't think I CC'd any vehicles.
Do you ever plan on a vehicle dying to provide cover?
I don't plan on it, but when I see an opportunity for it to occur, I do so. Like, it's certainly on the attack. It's certainly on, like I will send a T-34. It's like, good luck, guys, and kind of hoping, well, maybe bad luck might be okay.
There's always more
in Duensky and
reversing
Pleva
across a bridge, I need to cross it. Yeah.
I was watching Duensky and Pleva play this, and Pleva had this unreal turn of events. He created a hero who took like 7 straight FPF shots, survived them all, broke all these guys. But Ron was trying to use the last remaining tanks to freeze everybody in those buildings, and Steve did what Steve does.
Right. That's one thing a lot of people complain about sleeves freeze. And the truth is, if your defense is sound, it's not going to be broken by the sleeves freeze.
Certainly not in 1945 if the defenders are
Right.
Germans.
Right.
Oh, for sure against 1945 Germans. That's just not happening. Or the defender just does not realize the assets that he has to keep that from being an issue.
So you were the Germans, JR?
Correct.
Okay. And who won?
So I did as the Germans, and a large part of it was by putting the debris was key, because the debris creates the locations for where you can put the guns. I mean, I wasn't even worried about hip. I mean, I'm sure Guy looked at where the debris was and says, "Oh, well, your gun's either there or there."
Right,
I mean,
which is
it was
exactly
down.
what. Right, but that's also part of the tactic for the debris,
Right.
is to feign hip locations for the guns, because otherwise, like I said, I used the roadblock one time. Since it couldn't be hip, I put one of the guns behind a roadblock to get the same +2. But I thought and I pat Brian on the back for that suggestion, because I think it actually is, like, it's one of those things that newer players look at the scenario card and don't realize how big of a deal that setup piece is. Yeah, it's just 2 debris counters, but it's going to make a monumental difference.
And I think Guy realizes as soon as he put some debris down, he helped me after the setup. After he saw my setup, he goes, "Oh, I think I screwed this up," because he helped me out by putting. Well, he was thinking I need the debris to get across the street to reach the final victory building, which is fair because that's going to be tough. But the truth is, as we were talking before, there's probably going to be a burning Soviet tank that will serve the same purpose.
Right.
So don't
Right.
put the debris where I want it. Put your burning Soviet tank where because it's going to do the same thing.
Well, I can remember, I think Brian put one in Q2, that second road hex off, because that's potentially a unique place to put it, because it allows you to fire down the road, the Q hex row, which is the paved road the Russians have to cross.
For sure. Yes.
And it also gives you the ability to fire out through the open ground in the R to W hex rows. I was very curious because, Brian, when we played early on, it seemed that both of us chose X1 for the AA gun, allowing it to hit there, thinking maybe, hey, I can surprise them a little bit.
Sure. It's not a bad spot.
Yada yada. And then that was actually before we tweaked the setup or the entrance for the Panzerschreck guys, because we were worried, JR, about the German reinforcements who can enter on or after turn 1, coming in, X0 W1 or Z0 Z1 and taking the building away at the end.
Right.
So the Soviets have to leave, the Russians have to leave people back for that not to happen.
Yeah, I'm glad you changed that, because I think that would have been. I mean, I like the Germans as it stands, and if you allowed the Germans to enter along that edge, that would be very difficult.
Yeah, you're always having to leave Russians tailing behind the attack just to guard the building, and it's like you'd run out of troops in time.
Right.
And it didn't make for a fun game, because the Germans, it was a shell game at that point, because they get like 3 half squads, a leader, and 3 concealments or something, and you're guessing. We didn't like it. It didn't seem to help the scenario at all, and I don't believe the designer had a problem. As Curt alluded to earlier, there used to be 2 maps. We're playing on the top of the 2 maps, the north of the 2 maps. The bottom had a river and a bridge across it, and one of the hexes that was valid was the other side of that bridge. So it was like you had to fight the whole way through the city and then try and cross the bridge at the end.
It was a destroyed bridge, which was a ford. So it made it virtually
I'd say that's still a scenario that I would like to see develop that, because I think it's a great situation. And I could see like you expanding just kind of the idea of it to whatever that original version was.
You would need to add 4 turns.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Because of the nature of the terrain, the 88 down by that bridge, just every attack was like pivoting on that 88 to get to the bridge. and it was just always a fight for the 88. So it was easy to take that board away and just say, these buildings where the fights were happening should be the victory buildings. And it was a little more tournament sized or timed. So that worked out well for that.
Well, and also, I'm curious when you looked at this, because for the players that don't know, at the first ASL World Championship, the players did not see the scenario until the round began. And I was really interested in hearing, and I got to hear all of you guys, all the good players always asking for the same side. And for the most part, it was always the attacker, but again, players don't understand those things, because when you looked at this scenario card and you're looking at 12 full 8 morale Russian squads against 12, well, half conscript, which are going to melt very quickly because their ELR is at 2,
and the rest
3.
are soon to be conscripts.
Right, exactly right. And that was the big fear balancing this and playing as much as we did, which was the German force is unbelievably brittle.
Right.
And the Russians are not.
But I like that because, for me, one of the joys of ASL is when you have like a really deeply asymmetric situation, whether it's troop quality, whether it's mobility, something that really makes the two sides feel very different to play. And this one has that characteristic.
Well, and that's what I'm at, right? You're looking at a scenario. You've got 7 late war Russian tanks, a 9-2, 12-8 morale squads against no tanks, 6-6 morale, 6-7 morale guys, and obviously the 88's always sexy, but holy crap.
Well, but the burden is on the designer to take a situation like that and make it interesting for both sides. And I think Michael really succeeds here. I really enjoyed this as the German. I had a lot of fun playing as a German because I had choices to make. And often, as a defender, most of your joy comes in the setup. And then in the playing, it's like, is this going to work or is it not going to work? But here, I think I had decisions to make within the game itself that made it not more than just a static setup. And I think Michael did a really, really good job in that respect.
Now, you played Paul Sadu did Paul play Pleva, or Sadu played some? Anyway, Paul Sadu entered every single unit in the GG1-2 hex row.
Oh my gosh.
It was the only way, and it was unbelievably no, I saw no one else even come close to that. Because I think the Russians have to come down in the 7, 8, 9, 10. I think they have to go through the buildings to do it.
Well, in our game, Guy went to the building. I just absolutely just stoned him in the building front. So he had to swing around. And I think that's why he eventually, he had some bad luck as well. I definitely had the edge in luck. But by stoning him on the high numbered hex rows, he had to go around. And he was just out of time by the time he did reach the buildings.
Yeah.
Speaking of out of time, I'm going to have to leave in a minute.
R to X 8, 9, 10 hexes and hex rows.
That's tough.
It's one of the few places on the map where you can avoid being spotted by the Stuka. Number one, there's a couple X's in there, but the 3X Panzerfaust. And listen, I'm taking the back blast all day long with 6 morale troops.
The beauty of, for all you new ASL players out there, the beauty of backblast, if you roll that colored one, but if it's going to be a hit, you might K your squad, but if you're hitting with the Panzerfaust, eat it.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and eat it.
Jared only has 1 second left, so I'm going to ask real quick a favor. We're going to announce the last episode winner of the Waffle House reference. We need a reference for this week. Anything. Could be anything. Name your wife.
So what we do is we're going to have a contest. We're going to give away a prize that people have to stay to this part of the podcast. You're going to give them, they have to send the answer to whatever you say to our email, and then we choose a winner from that. So last week it was, what did Brian's hat have on it? The first week is I like Skippy creamy peanut butter, and they had to, send that in. So come up with something unique that to you, maybe it's the fact that you set your hip gun up in the wrong place. Or
well, now I can't use that because you just said it. So
right.
I have to ask a quasi ASL related question.
You have to provide the answer that they're going to send to his email.
Right. And it doesn't have to be ASL related. Waffle House is tertiary, or not, whatever the word is, related, but certainly Skippy peanut butter isn't. But, if you wanted today's contest winner, think Marcho Grout.
Well, no,
what's his name?
This one will warm your heart, Brian. This will warm your heart.
Okay.
In order to be eligible to win this prize next week, you have to Name an ASL scenario that has both the word orange and the letter W in it.
Nice. I like it.
All righty, guys.
Yeah.
I won already.
Yep, I won.
It's great seeing you guys. Thanks again for putting on an
Hey,
event.
Tell your lovely wife we said hello. We're thinking about her. You have a great time, and really, really appreciate you taking time out for us, JR. You take care of yourself, buddy.
Thanks, JR.
It's great seeing you guys. And farewell. And for all you guys out there who don't realize, I am at the Travis Kelce wedding in Kansas City, but it's my cousin Kelsey and her fiance Travis Young, not the Travis Kelce you guys might be thinking of. But you guys take care, and looking forward to seeing you two and maybe some other you folks at some point in the
All right,
near
Bubba.
future.
Take care,
I certainly hope someone at the wedding wore like a Kansas City Chiefs baseball hat or something.
There's lots of KC everything going on here. All right. Bye,
All right, man.
guys.
Take
Good
care,
night.
JR. It's great
Take care.
seeing you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And let me just reiterate, guys, if you ever get a chance to sit across from JR at a tournament, don't be intimidated. He's a great teacher. He loves to play new players, teach the game. An incredibly kind, incredibly talented ASL player, and you will walk away a better player for having it. Not to mention, you'll enjoy the experience. So, no, it was, and we talked about that. It was one of the moments at the ASL Championship when I saw JR illegally set up a gun, and I'm like cringing, like I've got the secret, and I was like, I can't tell anybody, I can't say anything, and then he did exactly what you said. Like I'm standing there, he goes, pops it up. Ron Duensky says to him, and it's an illegal setup. He goes, "Oh, yep, you're right." Puts it up there, and next. And that's one of the things. Like I said, and I would agree with him. That's one of the things that makes him an elite player is his inability to go bounce around.
I wanted to pick his brain a little bit on that medium machine gun crew placement. How he left them hip while the Americans were running a freight train of guys in front of him.
Yep.
It's a shame we ran out of time. I hope he touches on that in the article that he's writing for the Journal. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
But I hope that he touches on that.
This was the scenario we talked about last week. What was it called? Whatever.
The third scenario.
But JR was the Japanese, and it was, I think it's hex A7, the leftmost hex on the map.
Right.
And it's a woods hex next to a couple huts. JR had a leader, a medium, and a crew that he, in a 6-turn scenario or 6.5 turn scenario, that he kept hip, despite the fact that he had multiple down 3 shots at half squads and whatever, till a really crucial point in the game. And it was actually popped up accidentally because a unit tried to route there, an American unit tried to route into the hex, and he bounced them. But that was, and it's one of the things that you do when we play test that I've always I've tried to take in as a lesson is the fire restraint. Just because you can take a shot doesn't mean you have to. Now, on the flip side, JR will take any shot on the board. I've seen him take 1 up 4s, 2 up 3s, 2 up 5s. If he can shoot, he shoots. Obviously, when you're talking about a higher sniper, that changes. But it's one of the things that I notice often with really good players. When you're not talking about a 4 or 5 sand, they shoot everything.
It was really interesting to hear him say that every piece has to have a plan.
Yeah.
I need to get better at that.
Yeah.
Because I get to the end of a turn and I've achieved the goal I want for that turn, and I'll have 2 or 3 pieces left. And then it's like, let's see what kind of trouble we can raise. Probably why I've never won a major championship. I've won a couple of conventions.
There's a piece for every plan and a
plan for every piece.
Yeah. Yeah. And that
might be words to live by.
Well, it's definitely, and again, like I said, I always sought out other people that were really good at stuff that I wasn't good at. Now, that applies to JR whether he's playing Tatsugeki or Hill 621.
Yeah.
And that is where you get guys lost, right? Okay, dude, how am I going to have a plan for I've got 60 squads. Well, he does. And they do. And they don't move pieces willy-nilly. Every time they move, they have a plan. One of the things, like I said, is it's one of the things that I noticed playing you a lot. You don't pick up a vehicle and move it and go start 1, 2, let's see, change covered arc 3. No. Like, you've already got him in his stop hex with his vehicle covered arc in your head. You know, that obviously comes back to rules knowledge, knowing, how and what you can move and all that other stuff. But if I would push to newer, younger players or players of lesser quality, don't pick up a piece until you're sure where you're going to end place it.
Yeah, you got to know where you're going with it, what you want to do.
Well, and the problem is that drags out games, right? And that's one of the things that, there was a thread, I can't remember where it was, but I've seen us both comment on it, which I think Derzinski said, never surrender, never quit. Well, there's a point in time and a place, if you understand the game, where, hey, we're on turn 4, it's unwinnable, dude.
Right. I mean, there's two things that happen. There's personal morale check failure, which, I've seen people quit games way too early. They still have a chance. For example, the championship game, which we'll talk about next week, after turn 1, I thought Mike was done. I was stunned. And that game ended up going like 7, maybe 8 hours of game time. He came back and nearly won the game, to the point where at the end of the game, I thought he was going to win. I was like, wow. And he didn't fail his personal round check. He just kept plugging.
But you and I were talking about that, and the fact that he had an atrocious first turn, and a turn that would have broken a lot of players' backs against Steve Pleba, by the way.
Yeah.
But I looked at that and said, only a guy as talented as Mike or Steve or JR could have actually made that a competitive game.
Yeah. And it was competitive in the middle.
It was very competitive.
Back, and certainly look forward to talking about that game. Little administration real quick. Last week's winner, another name I'm going to have a hard time pronouncing. Thanks, guys. This is through random draw. What we have you do is you mail in the keywords to podcast@mmpgamers.com. I'm sure Gehrig will throw that on the screen again. But by now, you guys should have it bookmarked.
Remind them what this week's is, right? It's a scenario with the word orange and a U in the title.
Yep. And like I said, I knew immediately what he was talking about.
I did too.
But last week, the answer was, of course, Waffle House. Perry said I made it way too easy by pointing at my hat multiple times. Despite that, 2 people said Denny's, which I still can't get over. Although the one guy who did say Denny's pointed out that Denny's are strictly Waffle Houses for people who don't know how to fight. Could be true. I've never actually been in a fight, but I do eat at Waffle House plenty. Maybe I just know to go to the good ones. Last week's winner, who did say Waffle House, was Bob Pieho, Pieho, of Raymore, Missouri. Bob, I'm going to send you an email in about 10 seconds, and you're going to send me your snail mail, and we will mail you a Chef DuPont. We have not decided what we're giving away on week 3, so let's go big, since it's a little tougher question, and give away a Slaughter at Ponry.
Ooh.
Why would we give this away? Because sometime in the next day or 2, probably, Curt and I are going to go and do a little reveal on this and show off the pieces. A lot of people have it already, but not everybody. A fantastic Haslam game from Don Petros. And
and you and I did a lot of play testing with it too, so we can talk in depth about some of the scenarios in the campaign game.
It's a good thing to go. So we're going to give that away. Whoever has the answer, I can't recall what the question was. It went in and out that quickly. Curt just repeated a little bit ago.
Orange in the scenario title, or the word orange and a W
in the scenario title. That one, my phone's exploding. I sure hope it's not people texting me. He's going to text me the answer. I did have one guy write me on my personal email. I couldn't include you. You've got to send it to the podcast@mmpgamers.com email. Sorry about that. Please send it to the right email, guys. Other administration, I'm on vacation next week. I plan on maybe trying to join in briefly because Sunday evening I'll be in a hotel in Florida. But I should be able to join on by phone, and we should still have the podcast.
Your phone's blowing up, dude.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of crazy. Sorry, I just muted it.
No, we're fine.
What was that?
We're fine. So our Kharkov campaign game test is going well. We're having fun. We're getting ready to head into the end of day 2, going into day 3. I think we're good to go with the J16 at Aslock, and then the 2 action packs, and then I think Kharkov is not going to have a counter sheet, so that looks like it's going to get the green light for Winter Offensive 2026 and Marco Polo Bridge. We'll come back with an update on Marco Polo Bridge, but the idea is that Marco Polo Bridge will come out sometime between post-Aslock and some pre-Christmas, somewhere in there.
One thing we're going to do is send a piece of artwork to Gehrig to show on the screen right about now. I don't know. It's going to be geo board art from one of our new artists, a guy named Jean-Marc, who it turns out to be a local guy, lives basically right down the street from me. And I'm in love with his geo art. I think it captures ASL while moves it forward,
Yeah.
I think it looks fantastic. We're going to show a glimpse of this on the screen. Let us know. Email us. Tell us in the answer to the contest if you like the map or not. That would be
He's
awesome.
also submitted the Schilling ball little mini Hazel thing that he's doing, which includes, which is very cool, 3 or 4 scenarios that are with the map on the scenario card that he hand did, which
Yeah,
is a
it's like
product that is
we had those
yeah.
in a journal several journals ago. They're like little mini scenarios on a unique map that's built just for that scenario. The other cool thing is this battle, the exact same map is used. There's a scenario for 1940, the Germans taking the village from the Belgians, and then the rest of the scenarios are the Americans and Germans fighting over it during the Battle of Bulge in 44. Or 45 if it's into January.
King Tigers, some 90Ls. I don't think we're seeing Mist, which is awesome.
I would agree with that. I hate Mist. Super excited about that. Not sure when it's coming out yet. Probably after Winter Offensive, but it's gotten a lot of play tests with folks like Brian Martuzis and the guys up in Gettysburg. I think played quite a bit. It's a fantastic looking little product. We've got a ton of submissions right now. It's a good time to be playing ASL because there's stuff coming out. I think that'll tickle everybody's fancy in one way or another. And I just hope that we can keep it up and getting things churning out for you folks.
Well, and one of the things I did want to ask you, Brian, to ask them, guys, we're going to start doing some unboxing stuff. I know a lot of people have done unboxing stuff, but we're going to, I think, be able to give you a little different perspective as we show you products. If there's a product, not just ASL, guys, gamers, any of the gamers stuff as well, if there's a product you want to see components to, components of, I think you're going to be surprised what's in the Ponry box. I do the new acquisition encounters as much as you can like them. I love the colors that Chaz ended up selecting for them. With that many new T-34s and Mark IVs and all that other stuff, there's a whole slew of new acquisition counters. And then Petros did what Petros does. And we did a really cool, I thought it was a really cool thing in that 3 or 4 of the scenarios. When we do unbox, we'll talk about the rail station at Ponry because it's kind of a monster of a building. But 3 or 4 of the scenarios centered around the rail station, and the rail station was literally 2 X's off of the map cut. So to play 3 or 4 of the scenarios, you had to put 2 Hazel maps together to play. So what we did was we went back and looked at all of the diameter of all the scenarios that included the rail station, and we made a 4th map that you can play any of the scenarios that is about the rail station on this smaller non-Hazel table filling map. And I thought it was and we did it because we're ASL players and it felt like the right thing to do and a cool thing to do, and hopefully you guys like that. And we're, same thing, Brian. We're always looking for ideas. If you got something unique and let us know. And then finally, you can close this episode up, Brian, but I do want to mention we're going to live stream, guys. At some point, we're going to do this via live stream and hopefully but we'll give you guys enough notice, and we'll probably schedule it at a little different time because football season's starting, and we ain't live streaming on Sunday in the middle of football with all our
it's not
drafts
happening
coming up this week.
Anyway,
But, yeah. So,
I'll talk to you again in 2 days because we have our fantasy draft. Don't forget, 6:45 Eastern time, and I'm sure I'll have another team that crushes yours all season long.
Except that I kicked your ass in the playoffs last year.
One loss, right? One loss.
Twice.
That worst
You lost to me twice. We played twice, we split, and I beat your ass in the playoffs. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
So, guys, hit subscribe, hit like, share it, please. We're on Spotify. Eric will post all the links where you can find us and share us. It's growing. I'm having a blast doing it. And it's nerd fun. And I don't think we get enough of that. Have a great week, guys. Happy Labor Day. And we'll catch up with you guys this week.
Take care, guys. See you next week.